Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're diving into something you've probably seen 100 times but never actually thought about: the anatomy of a digital gateway. Specifically, we're deconstructing that little OpenAI verification screen. You know the one, right? We all just kind of stare blankly at it, waiting for the real content to load. But today, we're going to break down this ubiquitous 22-word digital roadblock into a step-by-step technical journey. Seriously, it's just a tiny wall of text standing between you and one of the most advanced AI platforms on Earth, but it represents this massive, complex system of security, communication, and, well, technological negotiation. By the end of this, I promise, you're never going to look at a loading screen the exact same way again. So let's dive right into this universally recognized hook. Just a moment, with that little trailing ellipsis. I mean, it seems incredibly polite, doesn't it? Almost conversational. But make no mistake, this is a deliberate, suspenseful pause. What we're actually looking at here is basically the front-facing mask of cybersecurity. When the system tells you to wait just a moment, it's really managing human psychology while the machines are doing all the heavy lifting in the background. It's politely asking for your patience while it secretly interrogates your connection. And that ellipsis, those three little dots, visually represent this intense, ongoing processing happening entirely out of your sight. It really is a brilliant piece of user interface design. It takes what is actually an incredibly complex, potentially intrusive security check and softens it into this polite request for a few seconds of your time. It completely sets the stage for the technical handshake that's about to go down. Once your quote-unquote moment is up, the system reveals the first half of its process. Verification successful. Think of this like the bouncer at a club checking your ID and finally giving you the nod. Whatever invisible criteria that gateway was looking for, making sure you aren't some malicious bot, checking your connection's integrity, well, you passed. But here's the catch. Passing the test doesn't actually mean instant access. And that brings us to step 2, waiting for OpenAI.com to respond. You've been cleared by the security perimeter, but now you gotta wait for the actual destination to open its doors. I love this because it perfectly captures the split-second timeline of internet traffic. It's not just a single magical jump from your computer straight to the AI. It's a multi-step journey through layers of digital infrastructure. First, you prove you're legitimate. Then, and only then, does the system even attempt to knock on the main server's door for you. Now, what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast between that completed system check and the active delay of waiting for the website's reply. Let's look at the wording. On one side, we've got a definitive, completed action handled by the intermediary security system. Verification successful. Notice that? It's past tense. It's a done deal. The gateway server did its job. But on the other side, we have this ongoing present tense action, waiting for OpenAI.com to respond. This literally highlights the physical reality of the internet. The security checkpoint might be lightning fast, probably located on a server geographically right down the street from you. But the actual destination, OpenAI.com, that might be swamped with traffic or processing billions of calculations, so it needs a slight delay to acknowledge you've arrived. It's just a beautiful illustration of the handoff in digital networking. The security layer says, yep, they're good to go, and then you're placed in this momentary holding pattern until the main destination is actually ready for your query. Up until this point, we've been talking entirely about what the servers are doing, right? The security checks, the waiting, the network handoffs. But here's the thing, the system doesn't actually do all the work for you. At a certain point, the gateway turns the spotlight directly back onto your device. So the big question we have to ask is, what are the required user actions? While the back-end system does its thing, validating your connection, it ultimately kicks the responsibility right back to your browser for the final keys to entry. You're not just a passive observer in this moment. Your web browser has to actively participate in the handshake. Because if your browser isn't configured correctly, it doesn't matter how successful that backend verification was. No way. The gates are staying closed. This is such a fascinating pivot in the gateway's architecture. It completely shifts from a server-side process to a strict client-side mandate. So to actually gain entry, the gateway explicitly mandates that 2 specific client-side technologies have to be active. You have to enable JavaScript and you have to enable cookies. And listen, these aren't friendly suggestions. They are absolutely hard requirements. But why these 2 specifically? Well, JavaScript is basically the programming language that makes web pages interactive. In the context of our digital gateway, JavaScript is often the exact tool the security system uses to run those invisible background checks that prove you're an actual human. Without it, the security system is completely blind. And what about cookies?
Cookies are just tiny pieces of data stored by your browser to remember information about your session. They are literally what allow the gateway to remember that your verification was in fact successful, so it doesn't have to endlessly interrogate you every single time you click a new button. By stating these two requirements right up front, the text strips away all the magic and shows us the exact nuts and bolts required for modern web communication. You have to have the engine to run the code, that's JavaScript, and the memory to hold the pass, and those are the cookies.
So, the crucial takeaway here is that understanding and fulfilling these basic technical demands is literally the only way to successfully clear the checkpoint. We arrive at the very end of our 22-word journey with this incredibly simple phrase, to continue. It acts as the final lock on the gate. It connects those requirements of JavaScript and cookies directly to your ultimate goal of accessing the platform. Think of it as a conditional promise. If you meet the technical specs, your journey moves forward. If you don't, well, you remain stuck in that just a moment limbo forever. This entire sequence we've broken down today really shows us that accessing advanced AI isn't just about typing in a password and hitting login. No, it's this incredibly complex, choreographed dance of security, network routing, and local browser capabilities. So I'm going to leave you with this thought to ponder the next time you encounter one of these loading screens. How much of your daily digital life relies on these silent, split-second negotiations that we almost never stop to actually read? Thanks so much for exploring the anatomy of this digital gateway with me today.